Hi, this is Keith Young here, and today we're going to be talking about Yemanya, the Orisha, and the similarity between the Orisha goddess Yemanya and the Starbucks logo. And actually, it's not so much even a similarity, it's really an outright copy of Yemaya and what she represents. And we're going to be talking about this from the perspective of why would a company like Starbucks that sells coffee, why would they be so interested in using the image of an African deity that has made its way around the world? The worship of Yemaya began in Africa, and through the Middle Passage and slavery, she's actually made her way around the world to Brazil and several of the islands in the Caribbean and to South America, and she is a worldwide deity. She used to be the goddess of the Ogun Lake, but now she has become pretty much the goddess of the ocean and the seven seas. So let's just dive right into the breakdown of the symbols and the symbolism in these images. First of all, I do want to call your attention to the name Starbucks. The name itself, Starbucks, has a lot of symbolism loaded into it. If you look at it, it's actually two names, Star and Bucks. Okay, so a star is just that, a star, a luminary. Stars have been symbolized as angels or heavenly beings or higher intelligence, and a buck is a stag or a male deer. So this could be looked at as a constellation, a guiding principle, a guiding light. The Starbuck would be the goddess's strong male companion, or his or her hero, if you will, or the god aspect of Yemaya. But mostly because it's listed as a buck would be a consort. In ancient times, the buck was said to be a seasonal thing, a cyclical thing. So in many cultures, what would happen is the queen or the goddess would take on a new lover, a new young virile lover, during the spring and summer months, and during the fall the relationship would wane, and by the winter time he would have symbolically grown old, and in some cultures he was even put to death, representing the cycle of going from young to old. And then in the new year, the queen or the consort, the goddess, would take on a new lover or a new buck, a new young buck. So this Starbucks is the natural companion to the goddess. If you look at popular literature, you'll find the name Starbucks in several books, one of them being Moby Dick. There was a character named Starbuck who was one of the mates on the ship, and Moby Dick is a symbol, is a book symbolizing the chase for the white god or the white phallus. So a Starbuck being aboard that ship would be very appropriate. In another book called The Snow Queen by a lady named Joan Venge, she was the queen of this land who had a consort named Starbuck, and he was her consort, and he did everything that she required of him to do. He was the eternal stag. Alright, so you may want to check out those two references to the Starbuck to see if you can find any more correspondences. Next, we want to tackle the shape of the Starbucks logo, and how, let's see if we can, and how the original logo was brown actually, and there was a goddess, and she was holding two tails here. Now if you do some research online, you'll see that they liken this mermaid character with two tails to the sirens, the Greek sirens. You're going to hear over and over again how they got this logo from the Greek siren or the Greek mermaid. However, they never really pay credence to the fact that this was an Orisha. This was the goddess of Africa, who was the goddess of the sea prior to being a Greek, a part of Greek mythology. So, if you're familiar at all with the work of Stolen Legacy, you'll find that many of the ideas, the culture, the philosophies, and the stories from Greek mythology and Greek history were indeed taken wholesale out of Africa, when those men who were seeking higher learning would actually go to Africa to learn. They would go to Timbuktu and Salamanca, and they would also go to Egypt or Kemet for their higher learning, if you will. Alright, so all these stories actually were boosted from Africa first. So they never really talk about the connection between the Greek siren and the Orisha Yemanya, which was an African goddess. Okay, so we're going to talk about it today, though, just so you can see. I mean, it's obvious that this is Yemanya with her two tails, and there's many more symbols inside of this particular logo or this particular image that we're actually going to go into, but just so you can see the very clear correspondence between the two. So the question then becomes, why would Starbucks use the goddess of the sea for their logo? Well, as the goddess of the sea, Yemanya is in control of vast amounts of resources. From the sea, everything was born. So Yemanya is said to be the mother of all. She is also the bestower of wealth and bounty. She is slow to anger, but when she does become angry, her anger runs deep. It can become very intense. But as the queen or the goddess of the sea, she's also in control of the currents of the sea. Now that's very important, because our modern word currency has a common relative with the word current. So what we're really talking about is the energy of wealth, the energy of bringing wealth to you. So if you have the goddess of the sea as your logo, then what you're trying to invoke by using this symbol is you're trying to bring the power over currency to your business. All right. If you'll notice in the more modern Starbucks logo that she has on a crown with a 5-pointed star on it. All right. Now there's a difference between the stars that are in the Starbucks logo and the stars that are in this depiction of Yemanya. She has 7 stars that ring her head, and she's wearing a crown of hair, not a crown proper, but a crown of hair. And these stars have 7 points. So that's a very important distinction between the 7-pointed star and the 5-pointed star. The 5-pointed star is the star of man. It is the 5 senses, if you will. So you have sight, touch, taste, hearing, and smell as your 5 senses. A man or a woman has 5 limbs, head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. So this star represents the divine man, if you will. Whereas the 7-pointed star is representative of divinity, the divinity of the complete man. The man and woman that is in touch with both their feminine and their masculine parts. All right, the number 7 itself is made up of the number 3 and the number 4. The number 3 being the perfect masculine, and the number 4 being the perfect feminine. So those two aspects blending together to form the divine number 7. If you also notice that Yemaya in this particular depiction, she has a serpent running up her stomach into her chest area. This should give you a clue as to what this serpent is actually meaning. If we take a look at the stars and then we take a look at the serpent, you'll find that this is a representation of Kundalini, or that serpentine energy, that serpentine fire that rests in your root area here. And when it's activated, it shoots up your body and it goes through what are known as chakras, your 7 energy centers that run up the body till they get to the top here. So as we can see, all 7 of these stars are actually above the goddess. So all of the chakras that would be considered lower or inside are have actually been raised in Yemaya till the point of she's a goddess. Okay, so it's important to know that about Yemaya, that these stars represent the 7 stars with 7 points represent the 7 chakras. You're going to notice this 777 symbolism in very many religions and belief systems. You'll see the 7 stars pop up in the Christian faith and as well as in Hindu faiths and Judaism. They all have a common ancestor, so that's actually the reason why you'll see these things popping up all over the place and in places where you wouldn't think you would see a correspondence, because we're talking about an African Orisha. So why would we have a crown of 7 stars when that's something that was mentioned in the book of Revelation as a Christian thing? All right, because they have a common ancestor in Africa. Some of the other symbols that are inside of here is the actual 2 tails of Yemaya. So Yemaya's counterpart is Olokun. Alright, so let me flip to a drawing that I did of Yemaya, and I did this drawing so that I can better understand what was going on in this image. So I copied the image myself, and when you actually copy it yourself, these things begin to talk to you. You begin to find an affinity for things or see things that you weren't able to see by just looking at it, by trying to reproduce it. So that's one of the things that I started to do when I embarked upon doing some research for this, is actually taking a stab at drawing this so I can start to understand the symbolism of what was going on a deeper level. So getting back to Yemaya and Olokun, which is her correspondence or counterpart. Olokun has been called a god, a goddess, or the perfect blend of male and female. So what we're really talking about is Yemaya being in control of her 2 halves. Her masculine half, which is represented here with this anchor next to it, and then her feminine half, which is represented here with this key here. Olokun, Olokun is in charge of the depths of the sea, the deepest darkest blackness of the sea, where Yemaya, she rules over the surface of the sea, the top layers of the sea where life is concentrated. So this can be thought of in terms of the conscious world or the conscious understanding and the subconscious understanding, the deep darkness that we hide things in our subconscious. And she, by holding both tails, you see that she is the master of them both. She has them both under her control. Olokun and Yemaya are 2 aspects of the same thing. And you can see them joined here by the crescent moon. The crescent moon has ever been the symbol of the goddess, the moon goddess, the one who holds sway over the sea. And you'll take note that in a lunar month there are 28 days, and if you divide 28 by 7 you get 4. So you have that reference back again to 7 here, because there's 4 weeks in the lunar month. So 4 weeks will give you the 7 days. 7 days a week. Okay. So that is some deeper understanding of what this moon here is. These pineapples are representations of hospitality. All right. And you have circles inside of one, and you have pentagrams inside the other. All right. So one is feminine and one is masculine. All right. The number 5 is an odd number, so that gives you odd numbers are masculine, whereas even numbers are feminine. The 0 or the circle is representative of the sun, because you can see there's circles with a little dot inside, so that's representative of the sun. But if you just take the circle as a whole, it's representative of the womb, or the eternal darkness, or the eternal blackness of chaos from which everything is born. You'll see that she also stands within a gateway, a yonic gateway. A yoni is a vagina, and the vagina is the gateway through which life on earth materializes. So you also have sun rays coming out of this yonic gate. So you can see that there's a blending of the masculine sun rays and a blending of the feminine yoni. You have the sun rays, and then you have the moon. You have an anchor and you have a key. You have 2 fish. You have the blending of the masculine and the feminine with the number 7. So we're talking about a balance between energies. And Yemanya is the perfect balance between those energies. And it's a perfect gateway, if you will. You'll see this gateway. In order for life to be created, you need to have the masculine energy and the feminine energy. Well, if you're trying to manipulate sales and you're trying to create a symbol that's going to bring you currency, then an ideal symbol would be the symbol of a woman and a male, a Starbuck, a book, a strong male, and the feminine, the divine man mixed with the divine woman. All right. So Yemanya's colors are blue and white. Now Starbuck's colors are green and white, and I'm sure that has to do with their connection or their desire to bring in green money. But green is also the color of nature, the color of life. There are some negative aspects to the color green, so you have green with envy or greedy green eyes and things like that, which is also built into the symbolism of the color green. But as a logo, you can see that Starbucks has taken a lot of time to go back and use the ancient archetypes of the feminine and the masculine to bring about currency or power over currency to their business. And if you take note, Starbucks has a constant flow of currency, a constant flow of people in and out of their business, and that's what you want for a business. You want to take control over the current flowing to and from your business. So I would say that they actually made a pretty smart move by using this logo. And the thing about symbols and archetypes is they belong to no one. So true enough, Starbucks has trademarked this symbol as if it belongs solely to them. And if you use anything similar to this, they're going to do some litigation against you. But there is a precedence with the use of from the use of the African understanding of this goddess of Yemanya that takes place here. So these symbols are ours to use. They're anyone's to use. So if this is something that you don't know about, this is something that you're afraid of, then you won't be able to take advantage of what the symbols mean. It's very important that we as African Americans become symbol literate. Why is it important that we become symbol literate? Well, because our ancestors used to write using symbols. They used pictographic language. They used hieroglyphs, which was considered to be sacred writing. That's what the word hieroglyph means. So we're hardwired there's something in our consciousness that is hardwired towards using and seeing symbols for something else. All right, it's said that a symbol or an image is worth 1,000 words. So there's literally thousands and thousands of messages being communicated in this image here, and I've just really touched the surface of what's really going on in this image. And the same thing with the Starbucks images. There are lots of symbols inside of this symbol that they're taking advantage of, such as the circles within circles, or the bull's eye. That is an eye symbol, all right, and that's another symbol that is indigenous to Africa that lets you know that there's a certain amount of consciousness going on. Yemanya is very conscious of herself, of her conscious and her subconscious, of her feminine half and her masculine half. She can be shallow and she can be deeper than deep. All right, this symbol represents a completeness, a complete understanding of what it means to be in control of energy. And so by correspondence, the Starbucks logo has an energy of completeness, has an energy of being natural, an energy of being pure, and an energy of being successful. And so thus they're actually bringing that energy into their building, into their business, into their corporation. So that is why a corporation such as Starbucks would use this logo to their own advantage. Another thing is this crown here. Now, a crown is very important. I just saw a movie called Jack the Giant Slayer, and in Jack the Giant Slayer they used a crown extensively to show that there's this crown that allows you to take control of the giants. All right, now the giants, or the titans in history, were the black folks. The mighty African titans were the ones who ruled the world, and they created in the movie a crown to rule them, because they said the crown was actually a part of them. It was something about the heart of the giants that was a part of the crown. So to deny the crown was to deny a part of themselves. What they were really talking about is the power of the head over the heart, using the conscious mind to control the heart region of the man. So I don't want to give away any spoiler. I hope I haven't spoiled the movie for anyone, but just so you can kind of go into these movies with your eyes open as to what these symbols mean. So the crown is control. So in the movie The Lord of the Rings, there was one ring to rule them all. Well, in the movie The Jack the Giant Slayer, there was one king to rule them all, and the kingship was represented by a crown. All right, so that's a very important correspondence. So this crown gives the goddess the power over something. The power over what? The power over, once again, currency. Currency is money. It's energy. It's the flow of commerce. All right, it's cash flow. All right, so it's important to understand these symbols. It's okay to understand on one level that the symbol was appropriated from an African source, but it's time to start looking deeper than that. Okay, it was appropriated from an African source, but why? Why would they go through the trouble of appropriating such a symbol and using it as their own? Because of the power of the symbol. Not just the power of the symbol, but they have used it extensively in their branding. This symbol, you can literally see it around the world associated with Starbucks coffee. So that's a very strong correspondence to create in people's minds. So it's important that we understand this so that we can start using these symbols for ourselves. It's not like this is the only symbol that symbolizes some of those things that we talked about earlier in this video. There are literally millions and millions of symbols that our African ancestors created that we can use today for logos and for bringing a certain energy to our businesses, to our services, to our organizations. And it's important that we get media literate or symbol literate. All right. So hopefully I've answered some of the questions about Starbucks and how how they use this logo and where they got it from and some of the things that they use to associate it with. I will tell you one last thing. The siren in Greek mythology was a mermaid that would call to sailors who would see these beautiful women, these beautiful mermaids, and when they would get close to them, they would dash their boats on the rocks and they would crash and they would sink. So the siren was thought to be something evil, to ward off people that were not worthy to be in certain areas. All right, but as we can see, there's definitely not so much of an evil aspect of Yemanya. But if you know, she is in complete control of her positive and her negative half, her dark and her light half. So everything has a polarity, which includes good and bad. So to stir up the wrath of Yemanya would be to bring calamity upon yourself. So it's important to understand that. She is also related to, Yemanya is related in Haiti. She's associated with the mermaid spirits of Les Sirènes. La Sirènes are the sirens of Greek mythology. Alright, so once again you see that anything that has been taken or appropriated by Greece and Europe and Western culture and society has a precedence in some part of our African diaspora. Alright, so it's important to understand that so we can begin to see ourselves in these things and we can begin to use these things. These are our symbols, these are our energies, and these are our powers. We need to stop being afraid of them because there may be a part of something that you were taught was wicked or evil, or you just don't understand it. We need to begin to study these things. So I'm going to give you some resources that you can use for yourself to start doing some self-study. First of all, use the power of Google. Type in Yemanya, type in Starbucks, type in Starbucks mythology, and you'll find out a lot of information by just using Google. A next thing you should do is get a book called The Dictionary of Symbolism, Cultural Icons and Meanings Behind Them by Hans Biederman. Another good book to get to begin to decode symbols is an illustrated encyclopedia of traditional symbols by J.C. Cooper. Another really good book to get is The Woman's Dictionary of Symbols and Sacred Objects by Barbara G. Walker. Those are some of the references and resources that I use to research the symbolism of Starbucks. You may also want to get a good book on the Orishas, which you can go to any bookstore or Amazon to find. So start getting into this. I'm sharing my resources for how I find this information. I actually study this information. I didn't just know all of this stuff, and I'm not sharing it with you as if someone asked me a question and I was able to automatically answer it. I actually began to study the symbols for myself, so that I could really understand what was going on and break it down so that other people can understand what's going on. If you like this video, pass it on, and maybe I'll put up a PayPal link. Maybe you can buy me a cup of coffee or something like that if this in any way helped you out or brought some enlightenment or education to you. I love doing this type of thing. If you're interested in more videos like this, you may want to check me out over on afroperspectives.com. That's my website. And I also have a channel on YouTube where I have several videos that I've posted of lectures on Black history before slavery and mythology and symbolism, the symbolism and the way that our culture has been passed down and handed down through various cultures and civilizations, and even in the pop culture, into movies, comic books, magazines, and things like that, where we may not readily recognize it, but there is an origin in the place that is the mother and father to us all, which is the continent known as Africa. So I would like to thank you for taking a view at what I have to offer. I would appreciate any comments or questions that you may have. Let's try to keep this on a building level. If you're going to, comment, let's have some constructive comments, some constructive criticism, some constructive dialogue about what's going on, so that we can build on these concepts. That's what I'm really all about, is trying to build a firm foundation of remembrance for us all, so that we can move forward together. Alright, so thanks for viewing, and I'll see you next time.